History is often shaped by what stays off the record. It is built by organizations that prioritize classification over public disclosure. If you want to uncover the documented realities behind these stories, subscribe to the channel. In July 1947, something crashed on a remote ranch in New Mexico. For decades, the accepted narrative among millions of people has been that an extraterrestrial craft met its end in the dirt of Lincoln County. The United States Army Air Forces themselves fueled this fire. They officially announced the recovery of a flying disc, only to retract the statement less than 24 hours later. That rapid reversal from an admitted saucer recovery to a complete denial cemented a permanent sense of suspicion in American culture, planting the seed for a myth that continues to thrive today. To understand why the military's announcement triggered such an explosion of interest, you have to look back a few weeks earlier. On June 24, 1947, a private pilot named Kenneth Arnold was flying past Mount Rainier in Washington state when he reported a string of 9 metallic objects traveling at speeds exceeding 1,000 miles per hour. Arnold told reporters the objects moved with a peculiar, erratic motion, like a saucer if you skipped it across the water. The press seized on that description, and the phrase flying saucer entered the public vocabulary. The country was already primed for stories of objects in the sky when in early July, rancher Mac Brazel found a field full of strange debris. It consisted of rubber strips, tinfoil, tough paper, and sticks, along with metallic materials that reportedly couldn't be cut or burned. When Brazel brought the material to the local authorities, the personnel at the Roswell Army Airfield were completely baffled. Rather than investigate quietly, the base issued a press release stating that they had captured one of the rumored flying discs. The next day, high-ranking officers stepped in, held a press conference, and changed the story. The mysterious craft, they claimed, was actually a conventional weather balloon. The explanation was too simple, and the retraction was too fast. The military had created an information vacuum, leaving an anxious public to assume that the government was actively hiding evidence of alien contact. If the debris wasn't a spacecraft, an obvious question remains. What kind of weather equipment requires the military to enact a top-secret cover-up? In the summer of 1947, the Cold War was escalating, and the military was terrified of falling behind. Their most urgent priority was finding a way to detect if the Soviet Union was successfully testing its own atomic weapons. A geophysicist named Maurice Ewing had previously researched a deep sound channel in the ocean. He theorized that a similar channel existed in the upper atmosphere, a specific altitude where sound waves from a distant nuclear blast could be trapped and travel all the way around the globe. To test this, the Army Air Forces launched Project Mogul. This acoustic surveillance operation was so deeply classified that it held the same security clearance level as the Manhattan Project. The officers at the Roswell base had absolutely no idea it existed. This diagram compares a standard balloon to the massive Project Mogul array. It utilized a train of equipment stretching over 600 feet long, carrying heavy acoustic sensors, radio transmitters, and oddly constructed radar targets. To a rancher in 1947, it looked completely unrecognizable. The military was indeed hiding something in the New Mexico desert. They were protecting a highly sensitive espionage array that had broken free, drifted off course, and crashed onto Mac Brazel's property. But what about the physical evidence? For decades, eyewitnesses swore that the structural beams recovered from the crash site were covered in purple, indecipherable hieroglyphics. The explanation lies in the state of the post-war American economy. In the late 1940s, military contractors were struggling with severe material shortages and had to source parts from wherever they could find them. The radar reflectors used on the Mogul balloons were contracted out to an aerospace company, which in turn outsourced the manufacturing to a New York toy company that usually produced novelties and dolls. To reinforce the seams of the balsa wood and foil reflectors, the toy manufacturer used the only adhesive material they had in stock, a plastic tape printed with pink and purple geometric flowers and abstract designs. Because Project Mogul was classified, nobody could publicly verify where the tape came from. In the absence of an official explanation, ordinary children's toy tape morphed into definitive proof of an extraterrestrial language. Even if the debris is accounted for, there is one final claim associated with Roswell: the multiple accounts of military personnel recovering small, bald, gray alien bodies from the desert. To address these reports, the Air Force searched their historical records, publishing the Case Closed report. The investigation revealed that starting in the 1950s, the military conducted extensive aeromedical research, routinely dropping figures from high-altitude balloons to test free-fall characteristics. They used anthropomorphic test dummies, commonly known as Sierra Sam. These figures had no hair, pale plastic skin, unusual proportions, and were dressed in olive-drab flight suits. From a distance, recovering one of these dummies would look exactly like a highly sensitive biological retrieval. The dummies weren't dropped until the 1950s, but human memory is notoriously malleable. Over the decades, witnesses collapsed the timeline, incorrectly merging the memory of the 1947 Mogul debris crash with the mid-1950s dummy recoveries into one single event. There were no extraterrestrial bodies. There were earthly science experiments, distorted by the passage of time, the unreliability of long-term memory, and a growing web of rumors. The conspiracy theorists were right about one thing: the government was actively lying to the American public. They maintained a rigorous cover-up, but its purpose was protecting Cold War espionage methods, not hiding first contact. Curiously, the Roswell incident was largely forgotten immediately after it happened. The story only resurfaced in the late 1970s, coinciding with a period where the American public's relationship with its leaders reached a breaking point. Between 1947 and 1978, the cultural landscape of the United States fractured. The assassination of John F. Kennedy, the Vietnam War, and the Watergate scandal eroded the public's faith in official government narratives. UFO researchers capitalized on this new era of distrust. They rebranded the 1947 incident as a cosmic Watergate. In this paranoid framework, the lack of evidence wasn't proof that nothing happened. It was proof that the cover-up was flawless. The Roswell incident shows exactly how excessive institutional secrecy backfires. When an administration relies on deception and creates a vacuum of truth, the public will inevitably fill that empty space with their own monsters. If you want to keep exploring the history hidden behind the headlines, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and keep watching.